Well, Happy New Year, and thanks for joining us tonight. We begin with a new Minnesota gun law that officially took effect today. It allows certain people to request a court order to temporarily stop someone from buying or even possessing a gun if they're at risk of harming themselves or others. These so-called extreme risk protection orders are also known as red flag laws. And today I spoke to law enforcement and mental health experts about how this one will work. In the months after Governor Walz signed Minnesota's new extreme risk protection order law, law enforcement groups have looked to 20 other states with similar laws to plan for a safe rollout.
I think the goal in every single one of these extreme risk protection orders is a peaceful and voluntary dispossession of the firearms. In Minnesota, the law allows the person, the respondent, to decide where they want to have those firearms stored. So they could be stored with a federal firearms dealer or with law enforcement.
Jeff Potts is executive director of the Minnesota Chiefs of Police Association. How has this law been received amongst different departments around the state?
Generally, I think that it's been received well. Like the association supported it. I think there are some folks in Minnesota that were concerned about it, that it might get used inappropriately. And I think what'll be important is, as we gain experience, that we're very careful in how it's used.
In Minnesota, either law enforcement or certain family or household members can petition for an extreme risk order if a person poses a significant danger of bodily harm to others or is at significant risk of suicide if they possess a firearm. From your experience, how often is this filed by families versus, say, law enforcement?
The vast majority, probably 75 or more percent of them are filed by law enforcement, only 25% by family members, and that might even be a high guess. Because law enforcement is typically who comes in contact with people that are having the mental health crisis.
I think this law could really help us reduce suicides, especially suicide by guns.
Sue Abderholden, executive director of the National Alliance on Mental Illness Minnesota, says that's based on research into existing red flag laws and on research into suicide itself.
Suicide is often impulsive, and so if you can delay even, by several minutes, a person's access to means to take their own life, you can actually prevent them from dying by suicide.
Under the new law, there are two types of extreme risk protection orders. An emergency order can be granted by a judicial officer immediately, but only lasts for 14 days. A long-term order can extend it for another 6 months to a year, but only after a court hearing.
The law did build in some due process, and it's actually a crime to falsely report information to obtain an extreme risk protection order.
And even if a long-term order is granted, the goal isn't for it to harm or haunt anyone's future.
The court documents related to risk of suicide are actually private. Those will not be made public. And we think that will help folks understand that your neighbors aren't going to find out or anything like that, that this is really considered a healthcare issue, and we're just trying to keep people safe.
And speaking of that, if you have been struggling with your mental health or thoughts of suicide, please know that help is out there, and all you have to do is call 988 to get started.